The wind shrieked like a living thing over the jagged ridges of the alien tundra. Cold bit through layers of reinforced armor, but Sergeant Kane Voss didn't flinch. He stood motionless, visor locked on the massive, pale creature stalking just ahead. Its fur shimmered with icy energy, glowing faintly under the storm's dim light. Blue eyes radiated intelligence and hunger. But it wasn't the beast that unnerved most soldiers. It was the woman riding it. She was tall, with violet skin that pulsed under a semi-translucent battle cloak, her long obsidian hair whipping behind. Her gold-cord tattoos spiraled over her exposed arms, glowing with pulsing alien tech. Her gaze fixed on Kane, cold and curious. "Run, human," she said, voice smooth as silk, but edged like a knife. "My beast smells your fear, and you're bleeding." Kane didn't move. His left side stung a minor shrapnel wound from their earlier skirmish, but he ignored it. She wanted a reaction. Fear, weakness. She'd get neither. "I've been through worse," he said, his tone calm, deliberate. "Tell your beast to step aside." The alien woman smiled. The beast growled low, claws cracking the ice beneath. Your kind always speak bravely before they're eaten." "I'm not here to fight you," Kane said. "Not unless I have to." "Then you're either very foolish," she said, dismounting fluidly, "or very brave. Both amuse me." She walked toward him, steps light, almost graceful. Her name was unknown to him, but her title had reached human intel feeds: Commander Alyxetra of the Varn Dominion, War Leader, Beastbinder, Planet Dashbreaker. Yet here she was, curious instead of hostile. "You invaded my patrol sector," she said, stopping 3 paces from him. "Why?" Kane watched her closely. "No sudden moves. The wrong word and that beast would tear through him. Because I was told this frozen crater wasn't just snow and rocks," he said. "Our scans picked up energy signatures, advanced tech, maybe Dominion-made. I was sent to investigate. And your team." Kane hesitated. "Gone. Dead. Not by my hand." Her gaze narrowed. "You're the only survivor of your squad, and you still walk upright. Strange." Kane shrugged. "We're adaptable." "Adaptable," she repeated. Interesting word for alone and dying in the snow. Not dying yet. A tense silence stretched between them. Her beast, shifted eyes glowing with impatient hunger. Kane stayed still. Then she reached out, not with her weapon, but her hand. Her fingers brushed his helmet. "I want to see your eyes," she said. "No offense, but taking off my helmet in sub-zero storm weather doesn't sound smart." "Neither does standing before me alone," she replied. "And yet," Kane considered, then slowly removed the helmet. The air hit his skin like a punch, but he stood firm, meeting her gaze. Her expression changed, just a flicker. Surprise, maybe admiration. "Not what I expected from a human soldier," she said. "You've got the eyes of someone who's seen too much, lost too much." "Maybe," Kane said, "but I'm not here for pity." "Pity?" She tilted her head. "No, you misunderstand. I respect resilience. It's rare in your kind. Most tremble when they see." She gestured to the beast. "Cute name," Kane said, nodding at the monster. "He doesn't look like he fetches sticks. He fetches spines." The wind rose around them. Snow blew like shrapnel. The beast's growl deepened. Kane didn't move. She stepped back, folding her arms. "You interest me, human. You're not a soldier. Not really. You're something else. A spy. Call me what you want," Kane replied. "But I came here for answers." "To what?" "To why your people are building things beneath this ice, and why that should matter to Earth." She smiled again, but now it wasn't mocking. It was dangerous. "Because soon," she said, "this world will connect to others. A bridge of light. You're standing on one end. We're building the other." Kane's pulse quickened. "A quantum gate, out here, and Earth." She turned away, climbing back onto her beast. You'll find out soon enough, assuming you survive the storm. With that, she guided the beast into the swirling snow. Kane watched her vanish, wind howling louder around him. His team was gone. The answers he'd come for were buried beneath layers of ice, secrecy, and now the interest of a lethal alien commander. But one thing was certain: she hadn't killed him, which meant the real game had just begun. The sky was black with swirling snow, the storm pressing down like a living wall. Kane Voss trudged across the frozen plain, helmet back on, HUD flickering with warning lights. His oxygen reserves were dipping, and his internal temperature monitor beeped in protest. Still, he pressed on. There had to be shelter nearby. Structures didn't operate without a power source, and that source always left a trail. The brief encounter with Commander Alyxetra replayed in his head. She could have killed him. Her beast could have ended him in seconds, but she didn't. That alone meant something. Either she saw value in him or she was playing a longer, more dangerous game. His tracker pinged. They're just beneath the ISA heat signature. Kane knelt and placed a gloved hand on the snow. The surface felt warm, artificially warm. He tapped into his suit's plasma torch and began to cut through the ice. It hissed and steamed, revealing a dark panel beneath metal, Dominion-made, a hatch dot with a hiss. The hatch opened on its own. Either someone inside was watching him, or the system recognized something in his armor's signal. Kane hesitated for only a moment, then dropped into the darkness. The tunnel was narrow, the walls crystalline and glowing faint blue. Dominion design, cold, efficient, beautiful. He moved quietly, footsteps muffled by the soft floor lining. There were no sounds, no guards, no alarms, only silence and distant hums of energy. Then came the voice. "You made good time, human." He spun, hand on his sidearm. Alyxetra stood at the far end of the corridor, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "I figured you were watching," Kane said. "You left the door open. I left a trail. You followed it. I wanted to see if you'd make it through the storm alive, and you surprised me again." She gestured for him to follow, then turned and walked deeper into the structure. He didn't trust her, but he followed. Curiosity outweighed caution. The corridor opened into a vast chamber lab of some kind. Massive, crystalline structures hovered in containment fields. Engineers moved between them, their skin various shades of blue, violet, and silver. They barely spared Kane a glance. The air smelled sterile and cold, tinged with ozone. "You wanted answers," Alyxetra said, stopping beside one of the floating crystals. "This is the gateway core. It's not finished. But when it is, it will fold space between here and 8 key systems in seconds. Earth is one of them." Kane stared at the core. "You're building a wormhole." "Not a wormhole," she said, voice sharp. "A lattice, a stabilized quantum bridge. No gravity distortion, no time dilation. Travel by intent and resonance. And Earth didn't consent to being part of that." "We didn't ask," she said. "We never do." Kane stepped closer to the crystal. It hummed faintly in his presence. He could feel it not in his ears, but in his chest, like a second heartbeat. His fingertips tingled. The scientists nearby finally noticed, turning toward him with sudden interest. "It resonates with you," Alyxetra said softly. "Stronger than I expected. What does that mean? That you're either a threat or a key?" Suddenly, alarms blared. A voice shouted in Dominion dialect. Kane didn't catch every word, but he understood enough. "Breach, sabotage, internal explosion." Alyxetra's eyes narrowed. "Follow me." They ran through the shifting corridors, red light washing over them in pulses. Kane could see black smoke curling around one corner, flashes of blue sparks. They reached the impact site, another lab, now reduced to rubble. One of the containment chambers had shattered, Inside it was a body. Not human, not Varn. Kane crouched beside it. The creature's flesh shimmered, translucent, its veins pulsing with alien light. It wasn't a soldier. It was a prototype. Or worse, a power source. "You're using living beings to fuel your gates," he said, voice low. Alyxetra said nothing. He stood, staring at her. "That's why you didn't kill me in the snow. You wanted to see if I'd figure it out. If I'd understand." "I wanted to see if you were ready," she answered. "For what?" "To decide," she said, "whether humanity joins us or opposes us." The floor rumbled beneath them. A secondary explosion rocked the chamber. Kane shielded his eyes. The overhead lighting flickered, then died. Darkness swept in. Emergency lights came online. Alyxetra turned toward him, her silhouette sharp against the red glow. "Make your choice, Kane Voss. Help me stop what's coming, or stand aside and let the galaxy burn." Kane didn't reply. But in that moment, he understood. This wasn't just about survival. It was about something far greater, and Earth had no idea what was about to arrive. The emergency lights bathed everything in a deep red hue, giving the frozen Dominion facility a sense of bleeding from its walls. Kane Voss followed Alyxetra down the smoke-filled corridor, weapons fire echoing faintly from deeper within. Somewhere in the bowels of the structure, chaos had erupted, and whatever was happening, it wasn't sanctioned. "I thought this place was locked down," Kane said. "It is," she snapped. "Only high-level access, which means someone on the inside is trying to destroy what we've built, or trying to stop it." She stopped in her tracks and turned. "We're not monsters, Kane. Not all of us." He didn't flinch. "I just watched one of your scientists die while powering a quantum engine. Don't ask me for sympathy." Her eyes flashed. "I didn't ask for sympathy. I asked for help." Another tremor shook the hallway. Far behind them, one of the security bulkheads slammed shut, locking down access. The Dominion wasn't just under attack, it was sealing itself off. "Who's behind this?" Kane asked. Alyxetra hesitated. "My cousin, Lord Theron. He commands the Dominion's high order of purity. They believe only the Varn should control the gateways. No humans, no outsiders, no variables. So he thinks letting a human walk around in here is a threat to your entire species. To their idea of order, yes." They reached the central lab, again now littered with shattered equipment, damaged power conduits, and flickering crystalline cores. Engineers were trying to stabilize the structure, but the fractures ran deep. Too deep. "The gate core's destabilizing," one technician shouted. "We've lost containment around the matrix." Alyxetra scanned the readings, eyes darting rapidly. "If the harmonic field drops another 6%, it'll implode and take half the planet with it." Kane stepped toward the console. "Then, we need to keep it stable. You don't know Dominion tech?" "No," he said, his fingers flying across the interface. "But quantum resonance is quantum resonance. And you're using structures similar to our own neutrino harmonics. I can buy you time, maybe even stabilize the phase coil." Alyxetra stared at him for a breath too long. "Do it. I'll coordinate the defense." As she turned and gave sharp orders to the guards pouring into the room, Kane connected his HUD to the Dominion system through a bypass node. The interface resisted, but not enough to stop him. Maybe Alyxetra had left it open. Maybe the system already recognized his neural signature from earlier contact. The core pulsed faster, its crystalline heart cracking visibly. He isolated the fractures, redirected energy from the backup coils, and began to realign the harmonic streams. Data flowed strange, elegant, alien, and beautiful. His hands moved instinctively, syncing with the rhythm of the gate. It was almost alive. "You've done this before," Alyxetra said, suddenly beside him again. "I've studied our own gate. Prototypes. Earth hasn't perfected anything like this, but we've been trying." A deep hum shook the air. The lights flared, then stabilized. The core settled. Silence. Kane exhaled. Then the room shattered into movement as a blast door exploded. Inward and armed, Dominion elites rushed in, soldiers in white and gold armor, with sharp red visors and no insignia. Theron's enforcers. Their weapons came up. Alyxetra raised her hand. "Stand down. This facility is under my command." A voice crackled over the comms, smooth and venomous. "Not anymore, cousin." The centermost figure stepped forward, tall and lean, his armor lined with sharp crimson lines. His eyes burned cold. "Theron, you've defied the council," he said, "collaborated with an off-world species, allowed them to interfere with sacred technology." "I've saved the core," Kane said, stepping between him and Alyxetra. Theron regarded him like a spider watching a fly. "And doomed yourself. And her." He raised a hand. Kane's instincts screamed. A pulse of dark energy ripped through the air. Kane moved fast, pushing Alyxetra down, rolling with her behind a shattered console as the blast vaporized the floor where she'd stood. "They're not here to arrest you," Kane growled. "They're here to wipe this place clean." Alyxetra's eyes burned with fury. "Then we fight," she said, activating a crystalline blade at her wrist. Kane drew his pistol, side by side. She gave him a fierce smile. "Let's show them what happens when fear meets something stronger." Alyxetra moved with fluid grace, her blade glowing in the dim light of the lab. Each strike was a blur, slicing through the air, cutting through the air with precision and speed that left Kane in awe. The Dominion soldiers fell one by one as they tried to engage her, their energy shields faltering against her relentless assault. Kane fired his sidearm, the sharp, crackling sound of the shots ringing through the chaos. His training kicked in, shooting to disable, not kill. He couldn't afford to do that yet, not with Alyxetra's life on the line. Theron stood motionless, his cold eyes locked onto them. "You're too weak, cousin," he said, his voice echoing across the room. "You'll never control this place. The Dominion was never meant to fall under human influence." Alyxetra's stance shifted, her body tense with rage. She stepped forward, blade still raised, and bared her teeth. "We're not here to control. We're here to save it. Save your people." Theron smirked, his own blade glowing with dark energy. "You're too naive, Alyxetra. The Dominion is dying. The gate is the last chance for survival, and you've already doomed it." The lab rumbled beneath their feet as the central core's resonance began to falter again. Dark pulses emanating from the crystal. The catastrophic failure wasn't far off. Everything they had done to stabilize it was falling apart. The harmonic field was losing its grip. "Focus, Alyxetra," Kane shouted over the din, ducking behind a column as an energy blast shot past his shoulder. "We've got to get to the control room. The core's destabilizing again." Alyxetra glanced at him, her expression hardening. Without another word, she dashed toward the central control panel, her blade still humming with energy. Kane followed, dispatching the remaining soldiers who tried to block their path. The control room was only a few meters away, but the space between them and the door was filled with Theron's loyalists and soldiers blocking the way, their energy shields glowing a menacing red. "You won't make it," Theron sneered, his blade still raised, swirling in his hand. "I will not let you destroy this Dominion. I will make sure you are wiped from existence." Alyxetra stopped, her eyes narrowing. "The Dominion is already dead, Theron. You just haven't realized it yet." With a speed that stunned Kane, she leaped forward, her blade flashing as she cut through the first soldier, disarming and disabling them with lethal precision. Kane followed her lead, using his superior agility to take out the remaining guards, all the while keeping his eyes on the core readings. Theron didn't move. "I gave you everything, Alyxetra," he said, the venom in his voice palpable. "And this is how you repay me." Alyxetra paused, facing him, but didn't say anything. Her expression was one of bitter sadness, mixed with cold resolution. With a swift move, she ran for the control room doors, which slid open with a hiss just as they reached them. Kane followed her inside, a flood of panic and urgency coursing through him. The lights flickered as the room filled with the high-pitched sound of warning alarms. Kane wasted no time. He accessed the main console, hands flying across the interface, as he tried to regain control over the system. "It's not too late," he muttered to himself. "I can fix this. I can stabilize it." The vibrations increased beneath their feet, and the central crystal began to pulse violently. Time was running out. "Keep the door secure," Kane said, his voice low but firm. Alyxetra stood guard, her eyes darting between the doors and the surrounding tech. She knew what had to be done. Kane's mind raced. "I need more power, maximum energy flow to the phase matrix. I can't just stabilize it. I need to reverse the damage. But there's not enough time." Alyxetra looked over at him, her eyes fierce, a new sense of determination igniting in her gaze. "Do it. We don't have a choice. We can either survive or die here, and I'm not going to let it end like this." Kane nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The data continued flashing, urgent and demanding. He slammed his hand onto the console, rerouting power through the auxiliary systems. Sparks flew, and the hum of the core grew louder, more erratic. "Come on," Kane muttered under his breath. "Work. Just work." Alyxetra stepped closer, her breath heavy, her focus unwavering. She wasn't going to lose this fight, not after everything they had been through. Finally, the vibrations began to subside. The hum shifted. The resonance field stabilized, and the power grid pulsed steady again. For a moment, everything was still. Then Theron's voice echoed through the control room, distorted and jagged. "You may have won this battle, cousin," he said, his voice thick with fury, "but you will not stop me. The gate will open, whether you want it to or not. And when it does, nothing will survive." Alyxetra's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." Kane turned toward her, the weight of their struggle now clear. The Dominion was on the brink, and Theron's obsession with control was only the beginning. Whatever came next, it was going to change everything. He had to believe that. Kane Voss stood in the center of the control chamber, eyes fixed on the now stable crystal core. Around him, the Dominion base shook under distant impacts. The explosions weren't random. Theron hadn't given up. He was targeting the Foundation. "He's going to bring the whole mountain down," Kane muttered. Alyxetra nodded grimly. "If he can't control the gate, he'll destroy it." "We need to activate the lattice now," Kane said. "Bring it online, stabilize the energy loops, and broadcast a signal to Earth. If we can show them what's happening, they'll come. If they see this as a threat, they'll fire first," she replied. "They might," Kane admitted. "But if we don't show them now, they'll never trust the Dominion." She moved beside him, placing her hand on the interface crystal. Their readings synced immediately. Her energy signature joined his, and the core responded, its hum deepening into a clear, rising tone. "Connecting gate lattice," she said. "Energy fields aligning. Transmission matrix locked. Power rising," Kane confirmed. Just a few more seconds. Suddenly, the wall behind them exploded inward. Metal, crystal, and fire rained through the chamber. Theron stepped through. The smoke, half his armor scorched, his eyes blazing with fury. His gauntlet pulsed with dark energy, cables trailing behind him like veins. He looked like something torn from the bones of a dying star. "I warned you," he spat. "This path leads to extinction." Alyxetra drew her blade. "Then why are you the only one who's afraid?" Theron lunged, faster than Kane had seen before. Alyxetra met him mid-strike, their blades clashing in a burst of light. The sound of energy blades colliding echoed through the lab like thunder. Kane dove for the secondary terminal. rerouting power back into the lattice as the fight erupted behind him. Sparks flew, energy sizzled. Alyxetra was good, fast, controlled, relentless, but Theron fought like a man with nothing left to lose. You would give our future to them, he shouted. I would share it, she cried. You'd rather see us fall alone than rise together. Their weapons locked. Then Alyxetra twisted and brought her elbow into Theron's chest plate. He staggered, but only for a moment. Kane initiated the final sequence. We're one pulse away from a full-scale connection. I need 10 more seconds. Theron roared and raised his weapon to strike Alyxetra. Again, then Kane was between them. Blaster raised. Don't, he said. Theron froze, eyes flicking too. The crystal behind Kane. You don't understand what you're unleashing, human. The gate touches every system, every race. Once opened, there's no undoing it. Kane didn't lower his blaster. That's the point. You're trying to build a cage. We're trying to build a bridge. With a final breath, Kane slammed his hand on the core interface. Light surged through the room, blinding and absolute. The core screamed to life, crystalline spires rising and rotating in the air. The gate lattice expanded outward, pulsing across dimensions like a heartbeat made of stars. Theron staggered back, shielding his eyes. No, he screamed. You don't know what waits on the other side. Maybe not, Kane said, but we'll face it together. The blast of energy struck Theron full force, launching him backward. He hit the far wall and collapsed, unconscious. Silence fell. The hum of the lattice was stable. The lights softened. The gate had activated. Kane exhaled and turned to Alyxetra, who was breathing heavily, her blade still crackling. Her gaze held his for a long moment. You opened it, she said softly. We did, Kane replied. Together. She walked toward him, her expression changing from battle-hardened to something more vulnerable. You know this changes everything. Good, he said. It's about time everything changed. From above, Dominion officials arrived, some stunned, some furious, but none daring to challenge the stabilized gate. Kane stood beside Alyxetra as she addressed them. We are no longer just the Dominion, she declared. We are part of something greater now. If you oppose that, you oppose our future. Her voice echoed in the Hall of Crystal. Later, as the storm cleared above and Earth's first transmission came through, Kane stood with her on the balcony of the command tower. The stars above shimmered in new patterns, and the gate pulsed softly, in the sky like a second sun. You're still bleeding, she murmured, brushing his side. Didn't notice, he said, smiling faintly. She turned to him, eyes glowing. You didn't run. Even when my beast smelled your fear. Kane met her gaze, steady and sure. That's not how humans work. And then, with the gateway open and the stars waiting, they leaned into each other and kissed, not out of victory, but out of the bond forged by survival, defiance, and something far greater than war. A new chapter had begun. Together,